Hello, and welcome once again to Edgy Catholic Storytime. My name is Joseph Cillo Jr. I'm the writer of Edgy Catholic Fiction. I've written a thriller, When the Wood is Dry, an Edgy Catholic thriller, a graphic novel and comic book series, Blind Prophet, and my Christmas novel, Merry Friggin Christmas, an Edgy Christmas Comedy. A Christmas gift for atheists. I know. Not too many atheists getting Christmas gifts, I wouldn't think. But, hey, you give them one. All right. We've been reading from Merry Friggin Christmas, an Edgy Christmas Comedy. And we are up to Chapter 9. Chapter 9 is the Psychiatrist Appointment. And I'll give you a little background on this scene. In the original screenplay, as I've mentioned before, so if you've watched these before, this story started out as a screenplay, which is called Carlton St. Michael in the Afterlife, which probably was not the greatest name for a movie, but that's what I had come up with at the time. And in that screenplay, we did have the psychiatrist appointment, but I didn't really have him going on the way and meeting this crazy cab driver. So that's an addition in this book. And I thought I'd have a little bit of fun with the idea that the idea of a zombie, somebody coming back to life after he's been dead, and having Carlton kind of like having somebody suggest this, crazy possibility. Because Carlton's a little disoriented because he's an atheist and he died and came back to life again. This is like a weird position to be in. So anyway, look for that kind of crazy character in this one and kind of know it's something new. All right, so let's get started. Let me look up Chapter 9, Psychiatrist Appointment. Okay. Friday, December 30th, 2011, the 25th day. So, life was back to normal. Home at last in my Greenwich Village apartment. No more Jersey. No more hospital. No more nagging priest roommate. Just a hobbled leg, an arm in a sling, and an appointment with the psychiatrist. Yes, well, I had to go up to Midtown for that one, but I was looking forward to it because life was anything but the normal it was supposed to be. I had an insane deadline looming, issued by a near-death hallucination that was driving me bonkers. That fat load Chesterton kept popping up in my mind. You'll have 40 days to make a decision. To decide what exactly? To decide to believe that crazy vision was all real? Right. Like that's gonna happen. But man, it bugged me. Maybe the psychiatrist could help shake me from this bull dream. Dr. Freundheim. They had made my appointment with him from the hospital. I wondered if he took up psychiatry because his name contained the letters to spell Freud. Not sure I would like to go to a proctologist named Freundheim, unless my brains were in the wrong place. All I had to do was show up for the appointment, but I had this queasiness in my stomach about visiting a shrink. My noodle was my business, and it needed to be a little cracked for me to be funny. I just had to get help with this crazy dream. That hot social worker said he could interpret my dreams, and why wouldn't I take advice from a pretty young thing like that? Now, if she was some old hag with a wart on her nose, who am I kidding? If she were Jack the Ripper, I'd have to see somebody about that crazy dream. That dude, Nietzsche, coughing up ash and smoke for all eternity? Begging for a glass of water? Holy shit. But what if this head shrinker decided I was insane and locked me up with the fruitcakes? I was a short step away from that on a good day. And that would lead to the moment my father was waiting for. The call from the hospital about the prodigal son in the nut house. The journey to Midtown was a long walk for a healthy person. But hobbling all that distance on a cane with a walking cast? Not a great idea. I called the cab and waited until the driver rang at the door. "Taxi," the intercom speaker called out. I pushed the speaker button. "I'll be right down." The elevator clanged and rattled its usual clunking way down to the lobby. I met the driver at the door. A skinny young African-American whose eyes looked a little glazed and bloodshot, likely some kind of drug user. Not a good sign. His eyes seemed to dart back and forth, searching for some hidden threat behind every possible hiding place. Cab driving in New York did not promote mental health, even if you weren't taking drugs. "What happened to you?" The driver looked me up and down with suspicion. "Get hit by a truck?" "You got it." I leaned forward on my cane. "Got killed by a truck in Jersey, but I came back." Now, this spooked the driver. Sometimes I wish I could just keep my trap shut. "Mister, you better get another cab." He took a step back and glanced quickly over his shoulder, back at the cab waiting on the street. He looked ready to flee or possibly fight if I threatened him in any way. I raised my hand slowly. I didn't really die. My heart stopped and they started it up again. There's nothing spooky about it. It helps me to deal with it when I joke about it. "Okay, but just so you know, I got me a gun in the glove box, and I take no chances with zombies. You get one in the brain, you tries anything." I consciously struggled to keep my eyes focused respectfully on the cab driver, feeling a magnetic-like pull in my orbital cavity toward the top of my head. Show disrespect to a nut job like this, and you would likely get shot. "Okay, I don't have time to wait for another cab." I limped to the car. The driver opened the door and watched suspiciously, giving me a wide berth. I slowly managed to get myself awkwardly into the car, given the limited use of my arm and leg. Zombies? Why not? I was dead for 20 minutes in Jersey. I guess that could make anyone a zombie. But I hadn't noticed any urge to devour human flesh. At least not yet. I thought about Nurse Jameson as the cab made its way up to Midtown to 46th Street, stopping and going at all the lights. She looked right into me with those steely blue eyes, warning me about that substance abuse stuff. Did I have a problem? I didn't think so. At least, not with substances. My problem was this crazy dream. There was something about that woman that spooked me, though. I was never that serious about anything. Not even death. The cab came to a stop at the office building on 46th Street. "That's $23, boss." I leaned my body awkwardly, struggling to get my wallet from my hip pocket. A twinge of pain traveled down my shoulder and I groaned. "What you doing there, boss?" the driver asked, opening his glove box. "Relax, please, just relax. I'm getting the money out of my pocket. It's not easy with a busted up arm and a cast on my leg." You just move yourself slowly, boss. You ain't biting me. I rolled my eyes. I figured I could get the money easier once I got out of the car. I opened the door and struggled to get out. Where you going, boss? You ain't paid yet. I can't get the money out of my pocket while I'm sitting. I have to stand up. You just keep those chompers away from me, you hear? I sighed and scooted my body awkwardly out of the door. I leaned on my cane against the cab and got 2 20s out of my wallet to pay. But something must have spooked the driver, and he took off before I could pay him. My cane rattled onto the pavement, and I limped to pick it up, shaking my head. I was getting a feeling like I was somehow not meant for this existence. Like maybe I had not come all the way back and was in some weird space between life and death. Oh, that was madness. The shrink would interpret my dream and clear this mess up once and for all. I wondered if other near-death survivors experienced this kind of thing. My instinct was to joke about it, but people did not seem ready for that. Somehow, I had to find a way to cope that would not get me shot in the head as a zombie. I hobbled into the building and found the directory. Yeah, there it was. Dr. Freundheim, psychiatrist, room 1720. That was pretty high. I wondered if anyone had ever jumped from there. I took the elevator up to the 17th floor and half expected the doors to open to some weird alien planet or some other alternate plane. I was a bit relieved that the elevator would be ascending rather than descending. My imagination was out of control. It was not a good day to see a shrink. I made my way to the waiting room and approached the receptionist's desk. The receptionist was a gum chewer whose name tags read Betty. Hi, Betty. I'm Carlton St. Michael. I have an appointment with Dr. Freundheim. Why are you calling me Betty? She appeared more suspicious than confused. Oh, I'm sorry. I thought that was your name. It is my name. Well then, that's why I'm calling you that. Most people don't call me by my name. Oh? So what do they call you? They call me Betty. Okay. Then my name is Carlton St. Michael, and I have an appointment with Dr. Freundheim. Am I supposed to sign in or something? Oh, yes, I see. You're Carlton St. Michael. I'm Betty. Please have a seat. So now I assume that Dr. Freundheim must be one of those kind-hearted psychiatrists who hires his patients. I looked about at the other patients in the waiting room. One dude, an older man, with his thin, scraggly gray beard, unworthy of a Santa, kept sticking his finger in his ear and sticking out his tongue as if the pressure from his ear would force his tongue to come out. Another patient, a middle-aged woman, kept mumbling to herself something about needing to feed her cats, but having no mice to feed them. I had hoped to find some Woody Allen-like neurotics who might be a little less delusional. But I suppose mental illness is not like the movies. Or maybe it's more like One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest. I suppose Nurse Ratched would make an appearance soon. The door from the doctor's area opened, and a middle-aged woman with short dark hair smiled with a false pleasantness in that, okay, I know you're all nuts, just don't stab me kind of way. She wore those nurse's pajamas that made me see her more as an inmate in an asylum than a nurse. Her green eyes seemed to shift back and forth, scanning for sudden threats. Nope, nothing like Nurse Ratched. Carlton St. Michael? She looked first toward the guy with the finger in his ear and tongue stuck out. That's me. I struggled to stand, using my cane for assistance. Okay, sir, just follow me. She showed me to an examining room and motioned toward a couch. Please take a seat. The doctor will be with you shortly." I nodded, careful not to make any sudden moves that might convince her I was bonkers. Man, what was I doing here? I looked around the examining room, which was set up to look like an ordinary room that might be in any normal house. The overly ordinary appearance made it more creepy. There were family pictures on the wall, interspersed with some wall art that you might find in Walmart. The room was carpeted rather than having the clacking tiled floors of most doctors' offices or examining rooms. But for all its attempts to pretend to be normal, the chair that sat close to the couch made it clear that this was a head shrinker's office. And despite all my efforts to act normal, I felt a dread fear that my head would be shrunk. The horror of my situation set in as I realized my head probably needed to be shrunk. And it was not that big to begin with. The realization bridged the gap between knowing that bad medicine existed and knowing that I would soon be dosed. I scrunched my face as I imagined the nasty taste of it. The doctor came in, looking over my chart. He was a balding, graying man, tall and thin, with a neatly trimmed goatee. He wore a white lab coat and looked like he could have been called in from central casting at any moment to play some mad scientist in a low-budget horror flick. Or perhaps he could have pulled off Sigmund Freud himself if he put round glasses on him and a cigar in his hands. "Carlton St. Michael?" He looked up over his half-moon reading glasses. "I'm Dr. Freundheim." "Pleased to meet you." I struggled up from the couch and extended my hand. I was relieved that he did not have some phony German accent. But even his name, which I knew from my 2 years of high school German translated to "friend home," seemed a phony attempt to put me at ease. Man, I was getting to be about as paranoid as the zombie-hunting cab driver. And if you act paranoid in this place, you might get locked up and never let out. Okay, so that was a paranoid thought. But wasn't that the point? I was freaking out. The doctor shook my hand and looked at me suspiciously. He looked back down at his chart. "Please, Mr. St. Michael, have a seat." The doctor motioned to the couch, and I sat down, trying my best to look sane, but not knowing really how to do it. Which, ironically, likely was the best way to appear insane. But I could not stop myself. "Am I supposed to lie down on the couch like they do in Woody Allen movies?" I asked, like an idiot. "If you would like, just make yourself comfortable. I think I'll just sit for now. So your chart indicates that you may have a problem with pain medication, Vicodin in particular. I really don't think I have a problem. I take a Vicodin with a glass of wine before I go on." The doctor looked puzzled. Not a good sign. "Go on? Go on what?" "Go on stage. I'm a comedian." "Oh, I see. But I really don't want to talk about that. I was wondering if you could help me make sense of a dream." "A dream? Well, perhaps." The doctor tilted his head and rubbed his goatee. I was quite certain he thought me a lunatic. "Yes, well, I had this dream, see, that I went to heaven and I met this guy there named Chesterton. And, well, when I woke up, I see this guy Chesterton on TV. Only it's not really him, it's an actor playing him. Chesterton died many years ago." "I see." "Yes, well, I had never heard of this guy Chesterton, and, well, I was wondering, could I have dreamed up a guy who actually lived, but who I have never heard of?" "I see. You met this guy in a dream, and then you found out he was a real person." Yes, is that possible?" Well, not exactly, but the mind is a tricky thing, though. It tends to fill in gaps and make things make sense. Are you quite certain that you never heard of him? Yes, quite sure. You said you saw him on television. Could you have seen him on TV before? Well, I don't think so. How did you come to see him on TV when you awoke? My roommate in the hospital, that damn priest, was watching him on TV. Well, there you have it. You probably picked up on him while you were sleeping. And who knows? You might have seen the program before while you were flipping channels and never consciously noticed him. Yes, that must be it. I knew there had to be a rational explanation. There always is. Tell me, did this Chesterton say anything notable in your dream? Yes. He said that the Bible tells us to love our neighbors and our enemies because generally they are the same people. Dr. Freudheim chuckled. Oh, that's quite amusing. Well, you said you were a comedian. That's not my joke. It's Chesterton's. I think you'll find it is your joke. Check and see if Chesterton ever said such a thing. Yes, I imagined the whole thing. That's really not my kind of joke, though. Our minds can do amazing things in our dreams. Yes, thank you, doctor. You're very welcome. Now, how about that problem you are having with pain pills? Pain pills? Oh, I don't have a problem with pain pills. I think you've cured me of the only problem I have. Thank you, doctor. Thank you so much. I shook the doctor's hand and beat it out of there. Okay, and so ends Chapter 9, Psychiatrist Appointment, of Merry Friggin Christmas, an Edgy Christmas Comedy. And I will bleep out the dirty words. Okay, again, my name is Joseph Cillo Jr. We will see you next time on Edgy Catholic Storytime. I've got a book, When the Wood is Dry, an Edgy Catholic thriller. I've got another book here, my graphic novel, Blind Prophet. It's in a series of comic books as well, and Merry Friggin Christmas. A Christmas gift for atheists. From the Undying Rerun Network. Thank you very much. We will see you next time on Edgy Catholic Storytime. God bless.